tell me, with COVID happening, how has that affected? Let's start with your job. Yeah, how's that affected your job?
Well, I no longer have a job,
Mm,
so there's that. I stopped working on last Saturday. I can't remember what that date is. And the club closed on Monday, so it's done.
mm,
There's no in-person stripping happening right now.
mm.
So I'm out of a day job, and it's only just starting to settle on me how fucked I am.
Oh, hi there. I'm Andrea Werhun, author and co-creator of Modern Horror with my best bud and filmmaker, Nicole Bazine. We made a collection of stories and photographs about my escorting career, and what a ride it's been. We toured Modern Horror around the world. I posed for Playboy magazine. We even made a movie based on the book with a world premiere at South by Southwest. It's enough to make your head spin.
Can you talk about what you do for Maggie's Toronto?
Yeah, so I'm a peer outreach worker with Maggie's, but we've also suspended our services for the foreseeable future while the pandemic's going on. So I won't be able to do outreach anymore, which really sucks, because there's a lot of extremely vulnerable sex workers out there that need support right now. But thankfully, Maggie's and Butterfly have teamed up to create an emergency fund for the most vulnerable sex workers. So at least there's that going on, which is great, in lieu of not being able to support sex workers face to face. But it's a big bummer. I did outreach a week and a half ago on Saturday, and there were people working, and people continue to work because they don't have the privilege to stop working. So it's important to be mindful of those people who have to work. And luckily, Maggie's and Butterfly they've collaborated to do a emergency fund for sex workers in need, in lieu of not being able to support face to face. So that's great. But it is important to continue to support the sex workers that don't have the privilege to stop working at this time.
I mean, I'm glad you sent me the package, the Maggie's and Butterfly package, and I was very fascinated. Like, one of the lines in it is, "Don't shame sex workers just because they have to continue working, because they don't really have that choice." And so, why is it important to get that message across?
I think it's a really easy time to sling mud at people who you feel aren't doing enough right now. I think there's a lot of shame happening when we don't really know people's situations, and it's not fair to judge people. It's an extremely precarious time for every single one of us. And some of us entered the pandemic already precariously housed, or in need of medical supplies and healthcare that we don't have access to anymore. So it's so important to be considerate and kind to the people who don't have as many options as the more privileged among us, and to approach it with a harm reduction model, which is what we do in sex work organizations. We don't tell people what they should and shouldn't do. We simply meet them where they're at and provide the resources to ensure that they do what they have to do in the safest way possible.
Okay, and I think I mean, like, I like that the package does focus on telling clients what they could do, telling allies what they could do, telling third parties what they could do, and then telling sex workers what they could do about, like, just in terms of offering a guideline for, this is probably the safest way to have this exchange or to have this transaction. This is and I mean, do you think that enough people are going to follow along with this, or do you just see that, like, right now, like, that's the best we could do right now, but this is still leaving sex workers in a very vulnerable position?
Oh, I mean, it's an extremely difficult time for sex workers all across the board, especially those of us who rely on our in-person incomes.
Mm.
We've lost it overnight, and it's devastating no matter where you are on the whore-archy scale, we're all negatively impacted by this. There is an influx of both veteran sex workers and new sex workers who have decided to supplement their incomes or get their primary incomes now from online-based sex work, which has its pros and cons. But it's just sort of a funny time right now where people are suddenly discovering sex work in a way that only a few weeks ago they may have never considered it. They probably didn't even consider sex work as work, and now all of a sudden they're slinging nudes on OnlyFans, and so it's just kind of interesting. So we need to make sure that the people who are entering the business now understand that sex work is work, and what we're looking to do is decriminalize sex work. And this isn't just like a part-time thing you get to dip your toes in and get out of. I think it's important for people to understand that we're part of a global movement that seeks to legitimize this labor. And it's not just for people who are, looking to supplement their income during a disaster.